figure out how we got in this mess. And I spent the morning reading an article. And here's one thing that I've discovered, is that education reformers want to use business models in education. And so if you study economics, but even just paying attention a little bit, I mean, you'll know that all of the models and indifference curves, they depend upon dollars. And right, and all of the models require some sort of thing you can compare. So, but what do you do in education? Well, you can use test scores. And if you use test scores, you can use all of the models. And just one thing is that in business, you know, the bottom 10% of producers get fired, whatnot. So you can do something similar like that in education. You could fire the bottom 10% of the teachers or whatever it is. And there are so many problems with transferring a business model to education. And I'll just give 3 examples. One is that for the students directly, it incredibly narrows the curriculum. So Common Core, of course, is math and ELA. But it's not, I mean, one of the things I tell people is Common Core doesn't really teach math and ELA. It teaches Common Core math and Common Core ELA. And, you know, if you look on Facebook or Twitter, you know, parents are just constantly posting absurd homework and absurd jargon, right? Because if you just use ordinary language, you could use all of the textbooks that you had before. But to create this market, you had to invent all this, my mom called it phony baloney. So, you know, it's just filled with this jargon and phony baloney. And so I just, you know, that testing, the testing forces kids' education to just become incredibly narrow. The second major problem with the tests is that they have all sorts of adverse consequences for teachers, because now with Governor Cuomo's APPR plan to make teacher evaluations based 50% on test scores, now teachers are going to be disincentivized from teaching anything other than what they think's on the test. So all of a sudden they're not treated as professionals anymore. They're treated as people who have to teach this very narrow interpretation of math in ELA. And soon enough, they're going to be really good teachers fired, right? Because this is terrible math. American Statistical Association said that value-added modeling for teachers' evaluations is really unfair. So you're going to have good teachers fired, and then who's going to enter the profession if you know that you can be capriciously fired? And then the third point is that these tests really hurt communities. And I have a friend who teaches political science at UMass Amherst, and he has an article that's forthcoming in Political Behavior. And what he shows is that in states that have gone farthest in the standards, testing, and accountability paradigm, there's an across-the-board drop in parent participation in schools. Okay? So what happens is that if parents don't have a say in the standards or the kind of aligned curriculum that the school chooses, they're not going to participate in PTA or selling cookies or volunteering, right? And if this was a class, I'd ask one of you guys, like, why is that? And I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Parents feel alienated from the schools, right? And how is that going to benefit students? So when you pull all together, what these tests are doing is that they're narrowing the curriculum, they're deprofessionalizing teaching, they're alienating communities, and they're all dependent upon these test scores. So my counsel to you today in the short term is don't give them the data, right? That's why we need to refuse the tests, because all of the models, all of the machinery depends upon that data going in. And so that's why I wrote a piece in the Lower HUD Journal News. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on social media. You know, I'm part of this movement with the Badass Teachers and other organizations, NICEAP. Refuse the tests.